Hello, my name is Sacramento Dorn. I'm a sophomore here at UTSA. I'm a communications major with a focus in public relations and a minor in sports marketing. I'm really hoping that after I graduate, I can stay here in Texas and work for a sporting company, whether it's public relations or in a communication capacity. But I would also be willing to travel, maybe go back to California, live a good life in the weather over there. For my hero story, something I'm most passionate about is making sure that the people that worked with me, specifically under me when I was in the military, had agency and were able to make their own decisions on their career paths and things they want to do and be trained in. So, speaking on that, I had a junior Marine who was super into flying drones and doing things like that, which went with our job. Like it was part of the things you can do if you have our job. But due to our training schedule and our work pace, we really didn't have the time to send him to any of those courses, get those certificates, and he wasn't able to do those things right off the bat when he first got to unit how he had planned to. But since he had expressed to me his desire and willingness to do those things, eventually I was able to, once we came back and training slowed down, I was able to get a hold of the people who run those courses. And unfortunately, they had a course going, but they did not have any open seats for him. So I did notice while I was looking at it that some of my peers had their junior Marines also on this course. What I decided to do was I called my peers, offered them a chance for a swap. So essentially, my junior Marine would go on the course in place of theirs, and then this would allow their Marine to come and train with me during this process. Now, this wasn't necessarily a usual process. This was more of me having friends and knowing people and trying to get a deal, a little bit of a hookup. And it had its own problems that came with it as well, his old speed bumps and hurdles. So the first thing was my direct boss, my officer. He was not super willing to send our junior Marine out while we're again have a high work pace and have a lot of work that needs to be done. So in telling him that we'll have another junior Marine come in and fill in his shoes, it doesn't necessarily fill him with a lot of confidence that the task will be done correctly or on time or really anything will run smooth. So, in order to alleviate some of this fear and the pressure for that junior Marine, I was also able to get in contact with another unit and have them send another two junior Marines to me so that way I could be training three at once and get more hands on what we need to do, especially because it was more of paperwork and really supply chain issues than it was knowing the technical aspects of the job. We needed bodies in there. So eventually I got that settled. I was able to send my junior Marine to the drone course and where he was able to learn value information. And when he came back, my boss was actually so happy with the new skill set that we had and applications that we were able to use our job for that it became a prerequisite for people filling my position at the unit to have those certifications for flying those drones, which I wasn't even able to do because I'm colorblind, so I never got sent. The main thing to take away is that what was passionate to me was making sure that my guys under me had agency and were able to decide what they were able to do in the military. Especially in the military, you don't get to make a lot of decisions for yourself. You're told where you're going to live, where you're going to eat, where you're going to work, who's your boss, who you're going to live with, unless you're married. That's a different story. But if you're not married, which he wasn't, everything is decided for you. So the little bit of agency that he got to have when he told me that he wanted to go and do these things and it was a goal of his. I think allowing him to do that better prepare the unit for when I leave because he's that much more motivated to get out there and he's that much more motivated to train his juniors when they come and get the best out of them and really encourage them that if they want things, they're able to go after it and that all things are attainable. You just have to have a flexible leadership who have your best intention at heart as well. Some of my communication goals for the class, I want to improve my body language to communicate. I know I definitely fidget, move around a lot when I talk. It's something I try to control, but even in the military, I did a lot of public speaking and I did good overall. But again, the movement was something that would come up sometimes. Every once in a while, people would find it distracting, or maybe I would be looking off in a corner when I'm talking, trying to really emphasize, think of how I'm going to emphasize the point I want to make, and it would lead to others getting distracted, looking around the room, trying to see what I'm looking at. Another thing I'd want to do is reduce the filler words and speak more clearly and confidently. I do throw in a couple ums and ahs. I try not to, especially when I'm going down a path where I'm not sure how the sentence will end. But I think the remedy to that is also speaking confidently and making that eye contact with people and showing them that maybe the words aren't coming out exactly how you mean it, but you're there, you're confident, and you know what you're doing. Strengthening eye contact is also a goal of mine. I want to be able to hold the eye contact while I'm talking better. A lot of times I'll make it and I'll move on. I just feel like that's a small thing I can improve upon there. But also in the virtual space, I'm never quite sure if I should be looking at the camera or at myself, like down here. So it does give me a little bit of that paranoia that I'm not looking at the right place. And it's a skill that can be improved upon, and I think in a noticeable way if I continue to work at it.